align with issues of the vision of the organization. We know that the vision of the organization is the cornerstone benchmark against which everything else is to be measured. When you're looking at the 4 questions, the question is, how well do you align with each one of those questions? When you're examining that kind of core thing of what am I bringing to it? What do I represent? What do I care about? As we answer those kind of permutations of that question, the first and foremost standard that we have to always examine is alignment. And there's macros and micros. Now, we haven't talked about macros and micros yet, and so therefore you're a little off guard on what does that actually fully contain. But we have talked about the vision side. If in your analysis of what this organization is about and where it's going, if that doesn't make sense to you, how interesting. If you look at how they plan to accomplish that and what processes they have or don't have in place for pulling that off, or if the processes they have in place are distasteful to you, how interesting an insight. If the culture, in what manner that they're running their organization, if that's not aligned with who you are as a person, and you're still there, how interesting. Now, obviously, what's the inverse of that? The inverse of that is that you look at the articulation of what the organization is doing, and you say, I am totally in sync with this, then you have found your real true home, haven't you? You have found the professional home where you are very comfortable, you feel good about what you're doing, and all of life is better. And this is one of those points where I'm really interested in having you really be conscious of and also weigh balance points of life. I think those are important. I don't actually like the phrase work-life balance because that implies work isn't part of your life. And I think most of us, most part of our life is work. So therefore, it's really the question is, what is the balance of your life, of which work is a big chunk? That's how I would actually phrase that question. And when you do that kind of evaluation, then I'm saying to you, it is really important to have a decent alignment taking place in that whole arena. That's a starting point. So the word alignment to me is absolutely critical here. Now, vision is what we've talked about. We haven't talked about macros yet, though I hope to get to it yet today. Micros will be tomorrow. But as you look at those equally become really important in terms of saying, am I aligned with this? Does this make sense to me? I really do hold the opinion that when we are out of alignment with where we spend the majority of our time, and when you look at your 24/7, work is the majority of your hours, then I don't think that leads to good health. I don't think it's healthy for the body. I don't think it's healthy for the spirit. I don't think it's healthy for the emotions. I don't think it's healthy for psychological, And we have a lot of people walking around in our companies and organizations that I think are damaged goods. And part of the reason they're damaged goods is they're still walking around there. They should be gone. And someplace else would be a better fit, a better niche, a better thing to do. Well, nobody gets to make those choices for them in many organizations, but we have to make them for ourselves. So, under presence of personal power, the first thing that I'm going to argue and suggest is that we need to be clear, ask the questions that we've been doing so far in these exercises, to say, this is what the organization is. I got to have clarity about that. Then we have to turn the headlight inside and say, and how does that align with me? Am I good with this direction? Do I like how we're going to pull it off? Do I hold the same kind of values? Then as we answer that, we get to have the data. We now have the sufficient data that we can then analyze to say, what are my real options? And we can make the call. The one thing as a human being we have is the power to choose. Every person gets to make your choices. The one thing that cannot be taken away from you is the choices of your life, period. The one thing that can never be taken away. So we have to look at it and say, what are those choices and how are those working for us as we do the dance, right? All right, so for this next exercise that I have you doing, as it comes around, other than it's on a different piece of colored paper, aha, see, there's the major difference. Other than that, you're going, wait a minute, didn't we do this already? This looks kind of familiar to me, right? Everybody has one? See, I counted right this time. See, eventually I learned. And pretty much right in the middle. That was pretty amazing too. That was just luck. Okay, now, exactly the same thing. The variance this time is your personal professional values. So again, select the top three. Note your personal professional values.